That's fine. Item number 1, apologies. And any apologies from the floor? I don't see any joining from hybrid. Don't see anyone. Okay, thank you. Item number 2, declarations of interest. If there are any declarations of interest from the floor, are members happy to declare them as meeting progresses? Happy enough then? I'm going to item number 3, Department Business Plan Report, and this to be presented by Olga and Sharon.
Thank you, Chairman, and good evening, members. And members will be aware that each year, in terms of our annual business planning process, we present the update on the business plans for the previous year. So this is the first committee of this cycle to receive the update on the business plans. And these are for the 2021-2022 year, both for environmental services and environmental health. And members will see from the updates the significant work that has been undertaken by both departments in the delivery of the business plans as well. So members, the information contained is for information purposes unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, Olga, I just noticed on item number ES11, that was the full implementation of the Sustainability Action Plan, was at Amber, and I appreciate that there is a link with the, the green agenda. Just keen to keep the momentum on that. And also, could you maybe confirm when the consultation on the allotment provision will likely be launched? Thank you.
All right, can I ask you to come in that, please?
Yeah, Chair, in relation to the first question about the sustainability, that, as you say, is now directly linked with the green agenda. That is being taken up and we're expanding that out. So there will be changes to that coming in very shortly, and we'll be liaising with that committee or with that subgroup around those things. In relation to the allotment, yes, we plan to do that in the coming months. So that will give us plenty of time to get it undertaken and back in and then out if we have to do something by later in the year. So that'll be happening very soon, yeah.
Thank you, Barry. Happy enough that, Councillor Pope? Thank you. No other lights? Nobody from... No. Move on then to agenda item 4, Environmental Health Report. Gillian. Hold on there, sorry.
Not at all, Chair. Thank you, and thanks and good evening, members. To take this item before you, a proposed council response in relation to DFI consultation, water flooding and sustainable drainage. This has been a cross-departmental response, members, and also carried out in consultation with our regional emergency planning colleagues. Members, you will see that the consultation is really around policy and legislation and the department seeking views on which legislation should be amended in terms of reducing pollution and introducing more sustainable solutions to managing water. Members, we have some draft responses to the key questions. There were 9 key statements, and the consultation asked if we supported those particular proposals. So members, I would recommend that you review the response, and we can provide some further comments back to DFI based on your feedback this evening. Thank you.
Any comments? Councillor Pope, would you like to come in? Thank you.
Thank you, Gillian. Just really regards to point 3, sustainable Start again. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Gillian. Point 3, sustainable urban drainage. We know that SUDs can help mitigate flooding, but they also help in the treatment and quality of surface waters before they discharge to our rivers by removing the smaller particles and silt and hydrocarbons. But the key issue is really the responsibility for the adoption, ownership, and really the long-term maintenance of these SUDS measures, whether this is porous paving or swales or retention ponds, or the variety of other wetlands and other types of SUDS. Unfortunately, I believe the guidance alone won't encourage these SUDS measures, and therefore we need new legislation which really defines precisely who will be responsible for these SUDS features, whether this is DFI, NI Water, or someone else. I mean, certainly Scotland are probably nearly 20 years ahead of us. And in comparison, the implementation here of SUDS to reduce river pollution is very poor. And therefore, I mean, I'm happy to propose the main decision paper, but I would propose a amendment to the first sentence of that, point 3, and along the lines of the Department for Infrastructure should provide clearly defined guidance backed up by new legislation defining which department, body or persons should be wholly responsible for the adoption, ownership and long-term maintenance of SUDS solutions in order to mitigate flooding and improve the quality and treatment of stormwater discharge to the water environment. Furthermore, DFI should consider making the provision of SUDS treatment and storage measures mandatory for all new developments. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Councillor Pope. Any other speakers? Can I ask for a proposer for this? Councillor Johnson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm happy to second the proposal. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not saying that for a second that I'm opposed to what Councillor Pope has proposed, but is it possible that we could be given some time to consider it and maybe bring it back to the monthly council meeting?
Councillor Pope, are you happy enough with that?
Came back to committee because, with committees not sitting over the summer, it would be, Chair, it would be, September. So certainly, given the time scale of this, that the time, I think it was the 3rd of June that this was due, that there is an important time element of this, that I would be satisfied for more information from officers to be provided for this council for the June meeting, if that would be acceptable to the Alderman.
Yeah, thank you. That's what we can. Thank you.
Gillian, would you like to come back in that, please?
Thank you, Chair and members. I think that the proposal is in keeping with the document that we have here, if that's of benefit to you, because the consultation itself does recognise, and that's asking the question, should it be statutory or non-statutory? And I think it is in keeping with the sense of the document. Councillor Pope will take some email from you just for the context of those words, just to confirm that we have that and add that into the draft to bring back if that's the mind of the meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Thank you for that. So that has been proposed by Councillor Pope and seconded by Alderman Wheatley. Oh, sorry, seconded by Councillor Johnson. Apologies. And we can bring that back to the next meeting, which is the council meeting at the end of the month. Is happy enough? Thank you. Move on to item 4.2. Gillian.
Thank you, Chair. Members, this is a service level agreement between the Drinking Water Inspectorate and Council, and the recommendation that members approve the signing of the SLA. This is an ongoing work which the Council has been carrying out for the department for some years. It has been updated and reviewed in order to ensure that the correct level of fees are able to be reclaimed by the Council for the work which we do, and the work is set out there in the details section of the report, and the fees are available in the annex to the SLA. So members, I bring this to you for decision and recommend the signing of the SLA. Thank you.
Can I ask for a proposer? Or sorry, Alderman Muted. Thank you. Can we have a seconder for that, please? Right, Councillor McGrath. Thank you. Great, everyone. Right, thank you. And we move on to item 4.3, information items.
Thank you, Chair. 2 information items, members, really on a lot of the substantive work of the department, noise nuisance complaints, and just an overview of the current work. I'm making reference to the last set of stats which were submitted to DAERA for the year 2021, and some commentary on that. And I know that members, you also channel such complaints to us for investigation. And members, then the following item 4.4 is an overview of the animal welfare service delivery, which this council does as a lead within the southern region, where we provide the service not only for this council but for Newry, Morning Down Council. And you will see the commentary in relation to the information and the statistics at the end. And happy to take any questions that members might have, but these are for information. Thank you.
Alderman Mutre. Come in.
Thank you, Chair, and I thank Gillian for the report. Just one question. The report indicates there were, whatever the number is, 800 and something complaints. What about reoccurring complaints? Is that taken within that figure? Or, you know, if somebody's complaining about a dog barking, they come back 2 weeks later, complain again, how is that dealt with, just for my own information?
Gillian.
Okay. So that wouldn't be counted, double counted or triple counted even. So a complaint remains open whilst we carry out investigation, and our processes will take us through our various review and closing off points. So these would be that number of specific complaints. Yeah, thank you.
Everyone happy? Councillor Duffy.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Gillian. I noticed in your report that there's no mention of dealings with the housing executive or any other of the statutory bodies in this. Do you have much link in with them to try and resolve issues around noise complaints?
Thank you. Yes, that's core really to all of our work, working in partnership with any of the other stakeholders. And we also would deal with housing associations and the housing executive through our agreements under antisocial behaviour forums, where there is sharing of information alongside PSNI as well, in order to get that joined up approach where that is appropriate. So yes, members, that is something that we would work with a number of bodies in bringing some of these to resolution where we can.
Happy enough, Councillor Duffy? And can we move on to everybody else happy enough? Move on to item 4.4. Gillian. We move on to item number 5, Environmental Service Report. Barry, can I bring you in, please, in this?
Thank you, Chair. Before you, members, is a request from Larkin Baptist Church to run a number of Sunday evening praise services in Larkin Park in July and August. The dates are here for members to look at. They propose to have it up around the fountain where there's electricity. They suggest that there'll be approximately 100 people from Larkin Baptist Church who will be attending this hour service, which is 4:30 till 5:30. They also, obviously, we have went through the various processes in relation to the Rural Needs Impact Assessment, and that's attached for members. We have also done the equality screen and therefore screened out any reason for an equality impact assessment. As members will know, this is a common approach that we have been using. There was one last month for a different church in Banbridge to hold a similar service in Solitude Park. And as I say, we have went through the due process. We have completed the forms. We have engaged with our policy and diversity officer, who is also content with the process that we have went through. Happy to take any questions from members.
Councillor Hawhian.
Thank you, Chair. And just to welcome you into your new role and wish you all the best for the year ahead. Thank you, Barry, for your report. I spoke to you earlier on this. Our party are opposed to this. I'm not happy at all that this was actually even properly considered, to be honest with you, because parks and leisure facilities, you know, Larkin Park in particular, is used by all sections of the community. But primarily, people use the park as a place of peace, quiet, and somewhere that they can actually go to escape the kind of pressures of daily life. I use it myself. It's a beautiful park. What we don't need is parks to become places where, and it's actually irrelevant which church or any group. We don't feel, and I don't feel, like any church or any group should be using it on a consistent basis like this. And they're fully welcome to spread their word and spread their message in their own facilities and invite everybody and anybody to come along, which is the proper way to do it. But to come into a public space that is used for people to try and help with their mental health, to enjoy a bit of peace and quiet as the day progresses, for that on a Sunday, for 7 Sundays this year, is just, I just find it incredible that we would be seriously considering this. The council bylaws exist for a reason, and I understand it's you know, it's our decision and its finality, but those bylaws exist for a reason. The exclusion of political or religious ceremonies or anything like that going on in our public spaces, we would be opposed to. We think these need to be shared spaces, completely neutral venues, and I would urge other members to please just consider leaving the park as a completely free quiet space that people can go and enjoy without this type of stuff going on. And you know, I'm happy for council officers to work with this particular church to find an alternative venue or to work with them for space. I know previously there was drive-in church events in car parks around the town. There are plenty of spaces that we have that could be used to facilitate this group. Larkin Park is not the space. So I would urge members to just let Larkin Park please stay as it is. Thank you, Chair. I would propose, can I make that a proposal that we do not accept officers' recommendations and that we just leave the park as a free space? Thank you.
You, Councillor Haughey, and can I bring Barry back in again, please?
Yes, thank you, Chair. I suppose it's just to clarify a number of points that you raised. Yes, the bylaws are there and it's at members' discretion if those bylaws are to be amended or moved. So, for example, recently I know that there was a charity event here around the lakes and members were asked to consider if that was appropriate. Members decided it was appropriate and therefore set aside the bylaws for that period of time. And this is similar in relation to it is at members' discretion. And that's why we present it in this particular way. The park is not closed to anyone, so therefore it isn't that this group are isolating or are controlling who can attend. This is an open park and people can come and go as they see fit. That means anyone can either come to it or not come to it. We certainly will publicise this. So therefore, if, for example, someone didn't want to come to that particular location within the park, and obviously Larkin Park is a large park, that would be then up to them. And certainly when we were looking at the screening of it, when we considered those different thoughts, and we considered what had went before in other events that had been agreed by committee, that's why we came to the conclusion that we have come, and that's why we are before you today with that paperwork that has been completed. But as you rightly say, these are at members' discretion whether or not to approve this or not. And officers will always be led by elected members in their decision. Thank you, Chair.
Can I call Councillor Baxter, please?
Thank you, Chair. I think Alderman Hooter was actually was lit before me, Chair. Happy to come in after.
Alderman Hooter, apologies.
Okay. Thank you, Chair. I've got to say at the outset, I'm disappointed at the remarks that Councillor Haughey has made. I think they're unfortunate and regrettable. And I know that the last thing that the folk in Larkin Baptist Church would want to do would be to cause division within the council. There has been a history of this type of outreach, and we're talking about a small area of the park. I know the folk there, they will be responsible. They will not be inflammatory in what to do. And I believe that, if it's a shared park, it has to be shared for everyone. So it does. And there's a role for the folk within the church on a summer Sunday afternoon if they want to have a service without interfering with anyone else who doesn't want to be involved or hearing it. So I would gladly propose that we accede to the request.
Councillor Baxter.
Thank you, Chair. And yeah, just share the comments of Alderman Moutry. I think it's quite disappointing, actually, the comments from Councillor Hawking, given of all the different activities that take place in the park. And he said it himself, it's a park for everyone. So I think everyone should be afforded that opportunity to have events in the park, something that'll be non-controversial. We talked about having peace and quiet in the park. Like, for example, the UK Pipe Band Championships are in the park on Saturday. There's not been much peace and quiet in Larkin Park on Saturday. The Larkin Park Rally went through Larkin Park. And I was in one of those cars, and I can tell you there's not much peace and quiet. One of those cars is hurtling up the side of the lock at 80 miles an hour all day on a Saturday afternoon either. So very disappointed in the comments. It's really, it's not about maybe what's alleged about having a peace and quiet in the park. It's, there's a different agenda here. And I'm very disappointed on
Chair,
it. I have to
Chair,
say that.
I would back to what has just been said. I have made
Very disappointed on it, but I'm still speaking, Councillor Hawkins. We'd appreciate that. I'm sure
Chair,
I'll let you in after I'm finished.
Councillor Hawhian.
But Alderman Moodley, I'm quite happy to second Alderman Moodley's proposal, not that we accede to the request. Thank you.
Can I, Councillor Macaulay, please? Next hand up.
Yes, Chair. And just firstly, can I say well done on your appointment as Chair and wish you well for the coming year. Look, I would certainly be happy to support this. I have no objections at all. So.
The next speaker is Councillor Thomas Larkin.
Thank you, Chair. And like other colleagues, I'd like to wish you all the best in your appointment for chairmanship this year. I know that you will do the job to the best of your ability. But I just have to concur with Councillors Alderman Baxter, I think is that the correct terminology, and Alderman Moodley as well, and Councillor Macaulay. I think, I do support this recommendation, and I mean, council officers have done the review of this and they've done all the relevant checks, and at the end of the day, it is a space for everyone, and on that point, I do support the recommendation before us.
Thank you, Councillor Larkin. Next speaker was Councillor Catherine Nelson.
Thank you, Chair. And I know that I have today put in writing my concerns about the equality screening that has been carried out in relation to this. And indeed, that's something that I'll follow up again tomorrow, as I haven't got a response yet from officers. I think that with regards to people comparing this to other events that have happened in the park, it's not realistic. For me, our park should be free from politics. It should be free from religion. And we should be able to go there and enjoy our parks and our spaces without politics or religion going on in the background. That's my view on it. I think that means that our parks are safe and welcoming and open and inclusive spaces then for everyone. The screening exercise that has gone on, quoting irrelevant sections of the census, where the same point is repeated that doesn't address the questions in the screening process, i.e. it's open to all, so therefore it has no equality impact on people at all. I think that's ludicrous. And so certainly what I started today around questioning that, I'll certainly be following up in the days ahead. So thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Nelson. Councillor Duffy, you're looking to come in to speak. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I'll just second Councillor Hawhian's proposal.
Thank you, Councillor Duffy. Councillor Pope, looking to come in to speak.
Well, as long as this has been equality screened and there's been no complaints previously, and the good relations officer is satisfied, I really don't see an issue with this, and I would be supportive too. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Pope. So if we go back then to Councillor Alderman Moodley, you proposed the officer's recommendation, and there's a seconder by Councillor Baxter. So do we take that to the vote?
Chair, sorry, I had my hand up to speak. You didn't come back to me.
Apologies, Councillor Hawhian.
Thank you, Chair. There was comments made in the chamber there, and I just want to clarify something. The council bylaws specifically refer to religious or political events that need council approval before they can take place. So that is why we are discussing that here tonight. That is why there is an issue. It needs to be brought forward before the chamber and before members to decide whether it is okay for it to take place. So for Councillor Baxter to throw comments towards me tonight that there's any kind of hidden agenda here is absolutely disgraceful. I am very, very disappointed in the way he's approached this tonight. But I would remind members that that is the reason why we're discussing it. That is not relevant when you start talking about car rallies and stuff like that. They are not covered by bylaws in this case. We are discussing this for that reason and that reason alone. We have raised our objections. Councillor Nelson has outlined why we think the actual screening wasn't done properly. We will follow this up, but I'm quite happy now for this to be put to the vote. Thank you, Chair.
Yes. Yes. Alderman Baxter, you're looking back in there again, please.
Yeah, just briefly, Chair, and I didn't really want to come back, but I feel that I have to because, you know, Councillor Harkin said himself that the park should be a place that people can go in peace and have no noise or no disturbances when they're in the park. But yet, you know, the hypocrisy is that he's quite happy to let all these things that I suggested earlier take place. So I think I just had to come back on those remarks because it was him that said them. It didn't have any groups in the park, and people should be able to go to the park for peace and reflect and, you know, for their mental health and all that type of stuff. So, you know, I just want to put that on record too. But listen, quite happy that it goes to the vote.
Back to me. Councillor Hawking, you still have your hand up? That's okay, thank you.
No, Chair, I'm happy for.
Right, so we take it, Alderman Mute, no, we'll take it to Alderman Mute, he proposed it and Councillor Baxter seconded it. So we are going to go. Right. So they're proposing the officer's recommendation in their report. So that's what we put to the vote. Recorded vote, right? So. So right, so I'm going down the names here, and as I call your names, you go for, against, or abstain. Okay, Alderman Glenn Barr.
Yes.
Alderman Baxter. Alderman Ian Burns.
Yes.
Councillor Fergal Donnelly. Right. What number is he? Right. No. Thank you. Councillor Paul Duffy. Go again, Councillor Duffy.
No, Chair.
Thank you. Councillor Julie Flaherty. Jordan, you're Jordan, Councillor? No, if you're Jordan. We'll come back to Councillor Flaherty. Councillor Keith Hawking?
No.
Councillor Johnson?
Yes.
Alderman Kennedy? We'll come back to you again. Councillor Larkin?
Yes.
Councillor Macaulay? Councillor Macaulay?
Yes.
No sign, Councillor? I'll come back again, Councillor Macaulay. Alderman Mutely?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor McClellan?
Yes, Chair.
Councillor McGrath.
Yes.
Councillor Pope.
Yes. Yes. Chair.
Alderman Rankin. Go again, Alderman Rankin. Sorry. Go again. Wait till it come on the screen.
Yes, Chairman.
Thank you. Councillor Toman.
Yes, Chair.
Councillor Nelson.
No, Chair.
Myself, yes. Back to Councillor Flaherty.
Yes. Yes, Chair.
Councillor Macaulay.
Yes, Chair.
Right. Right. Right, just get a moment to count these. Thank you. So the vote is to accept the recommendation. 14 voted yes and 4 against. Those for were Alderman Glenn Barr, Alderman Baxter, Alderman Ian Burns, Councillor Julia Flaherty, Councillor Johnson, Councillor Larkin, Councillor Macaulay, Alderman Mutry, Councillor McClellan, Councillor McElrath, Councillor Pope, Alderman Rankin, Councillor Toman, and myself, Councillor McNeil. Those against were Councillor Donnelly, Councillor Duffy, Councillor Hawhian, and Councillor Nelson. So that proposal has been carried. Can I take a proposal and a seconder to go into a committee for consideration of the confidential items of the businesses? Alderman Baxter proposed and second by Alderman Mutry. Thank you. And IT, can you let me know? Into a confidential session of the council. This means that we will be turning off the public feed to the meeting. This will be returned when the meeting is restarted. Can I ask the IT officer to please turn off the feed and confirm with me when the confidential section of this meeting can proceed? in open session. Thank you. So can I need a proposal? That's a thing, right? Item number 7, correspondence, and there has been no items of correspondence to date, and so that is. AOB, there were no items for discussions here today, so that concludes the meeting. And as I said, thank you very much for attending. Glad to get that first one over. I was panicking now, to be honest, but glad to have it over. Thanks to all the officers' help. Thank you indeed, and thanks for attending. Okay, good night. Thanks everyone.